Nas and Tupac's relationship was initially one of mutual respect and admiration, with Outlaw's member Napoleon detailing in an interview with The Art of Dialogue that Tupac's love of Nas was what made the pair's eventual beef so painful.
Man, Pac was a Nas fan, and I don't really know who wasn't back then. All of us from the Outlaws, like, you know, from our neighborhoods growing up, that's all we used to bump back in the day. And Pac used to really like bump and love his music. So that's why when Pac was thinking Nas did some, he was more hurt. It like almost hurt his feelings. And that's why he just started going in.
Pac's love of Nas's music is also reported on in the book Born to Use Mics, Reading Nas's Illmatic, recalling in one extract how Pac rocked up to court blaring Illmatic. Pac was an instant convert. I dubbed the CD onto a cassette for him. He got his manager to upgrade his rental to a Lexus. He traded some mid-size rental from the Cavalier family. The next day, he pulled into the courthouse parking lot, his interior cloudy. He pulled his dub from the whip, threw it in his headphones, and arrived in his assigned courtroom blasting Illmatic so loudly that the bailiff yelled at him to turn it off before the judge took his seat on the bench. The pair's mutual respect seemingly extended into friendship, with Nas suggesting on the interlude of his 2023 track, Pistols on Your Album cover, that it was him that introduced Pac to Hennessy, beginning the rapper's love affair with the brand, a love that was often celebrated in Pac's music. I remember I put Tupac onto that Henny, Howard University, Howard Homecoming, DC. He's like, what's this? He drank that shit though, word. Such was the pair's level of mutual respect. They initially collaborated on Pac's 1996 track, Got My Mind Made Up, as Snoop Dogg revealed in an interview on Drink Champs.
You know they got a song together, right? Corrupt and Method Man on, I think it's on Tupac album. Guess who was on that album first, on that song first? Nas. Dude, Nas came over to Dad's house and got on the song first, then Redman and Method Man got on that song. Then Tupac got out the pen and Daz gave it to Tupac and took Cuz verse off and left Method Man and Redman on it.
However, it was in 1996 that the pair's relationship soured. Fresh out of prison, Pac was already embroiled in several feuds and had laid out a series of emphatic threats, primarily aimed at Biggie on Hit 'Em Up. But it wasn't until the release of Nas's The Message that the pair's beef began, and it all stemmed from a misunderstanding. Pac thought Nas had dissed him in the track's opening line, "Faked up, no love, you get the slug, CB4 Gusto." However, it was a section in the second verse that really peeved Pac, with Nas describing himself being shot in a manner that bore parallels with Pac's famous 1994 incident at the Quad Recording Studios. Heard shots and drops, son, caught a hot one. Somebody take this biscuit for the cops come. Then they came asking me my name. What the f? I got stitched up, it went through. Left the hospital that same night. Just 2 days after Nas dropped his album, It Was Written, Pac performed what turned out to be his final gig at the House of Blues in LA. During the performance, Pac unloaded on Nas, using his sample from If I Ruled the World as part of his track Troublesome, which he introduced an emphatic dig at Nas.
See, it's the named Nas, and he kick it with these named Mobb Deep, and they kick it with some named Bad Boy, but I say come on, so I'm about to take this beat and whoop his ass with his own motherfucking beat.
However, it was on the track Against All Odds, released weeks after his death, where Pac really let fly at Nas, referring to the incidents he detailed on The Message. This little nigga named Nas think he live like me, talking about he left the hospital, took 5 like me. You live in fantasies, I reject your deposit. Pac went further in the third verse, deriding Nas as a copycat. Lord, listen to me. God don't like ugly. It was written. Ayo Nas, your whole damn style is bitten. You heard my melody, read about my life in the papers, all my run-ins with authorities, felonious capers. Now you wanna live my life. So what's the hazard, Nas? That don't rhyme right. You've seen too many movies. Load him up against the wall, close his eyes. Since you lie, you die. Goodbye. Nas subsequently revealed that The Message had nothing to do with Pac and was primarily aimed at Biggie and Jay-Z and other West Coast rappers, as he discussed in the 2008 interview. On the song I did on my second album, Tupac thought it was about him, but it was really towards Biggie, from the first lines all the way to "One life, one love, there can only be one king." That was specifically going in that direction. The whole fucking song, really. Tupac was not even on my radar for going at him. Interestingly, in the same interview, Nas let slip that Biggie wanted him to team up with him against Pac. He said, "Let's get together." He said that everyone was a little nervous about it, but he was calling me about getting busy. Following the release of The Message and Pac's live repost, the pair came together on August 11, 1996 at the House of Blues, where Outkast and LL Cool J were performing. Delray Richardson, who was with Pac that night, told The Art of Dialogue that nothing untoward happened.
We see Nas, and Tupac and Nas kind of see each other. Now, this is kind of like the East and West Coast thing is going on, and it's a lot of hype in media. So when Tupac and Nas see each other, you can kind of, the tension was thick, right? Because people didn't really know what was going to happen. So Tupac actually walked up to Nas and they start chit-chatting, and there wasn't no drama, nothing like that.
Tupac also spoke of the incident in his final ever interview with Rob Marriott on August 24th, 1996, and backed up Richardson's version of the events.
I swear to God, I seen the Nas at the House of Blues. I caught him out of pocket and everything. I was deep with my niggas. I know he didn't have no gun. We could have rushed right there. I was like, what's up, yo? I said, yo, this East Coast, West Coast, it's not about you. Don't get caught up in it. I swear to God, we love you. We got love for you.
In the same interview, Pac discussed his motives for attacking Nas, telling Marriott that it was because of the message.
This Nas went back home and started talking that fake thug and dropping little Jews and this shit. And that's wrong. Because you should have said that to me when I was right there. He knew his album said all this shit. And the nigga was like, don't do that. That means you're a punk.
The Peers beef was squashed at the MTV Music Awards on September 4th, 1996, though various figures have provided different versions of what happened that day. Snoop, speaking to Arian Foster of the Now What podcast, gave the following version of events.
Pac had seen Nas in the park, and him and Nas had words, but Nas didn't want none. But Nas had 100 niggas with guns. By me saying he didn't want none didn't mean he didn't punk out. It mean he just didn't want to all the way there, because we was in New York in Central Park with 100 goons from New York circle us. Pac didn't even see them. I did, because I got a gangbang mentality. I seen them start circling and
right,
putting their hands in their pockets while Pac is in this ear telling him, I made a song dissing you, Jay-Z, Biggie, and motherfucker. And I ain't got no problem with you, Pac. All right, well, if you ain't got no problems with me, when this song come out, you better not say a motherfucking word. I love you, Pac. Shook your hand.
However, Napoleon, in an interview with The Art of Dialogue, disputed Snoop's version of events, stating that the pair's meeting was amicable and that Nas's action prevented a potential bloodbath.
Nas was there with his homies, and they started walking towards Pac. They was deep. You know, Pac and Nas like two generals. We strapped up. I'm sure Nas homies strapped up. We mean mugging they homies, they mean mugging us. And next thing I know, we just seen Pac and Nas embrace and hug. They walked their way, we walked our way. Then Pac was like, you know what? You know, I spoke to that dude, I got respect for him. I thought he was dissing me on some songs. He made it clear he wasn't dissing me. And Pac's exact word was, when I go back to LA and go in the studio, I'm gonna remove Nas from every song that I dissed him on.
Nas set the story straight in an interview with Julio G of 93.5 K-Day.
He saw me, and I saw him, and he had a bunch of people with him. I had a bunch of people with me, and it could have went either way, because at the time the tension was so high, and I kind of felt like I was the New York dude at the time, you know. So it was my duty to see what was going on. So I went to see what was going on, and he basically had, you know, there was some issues with Mob, and at the time me and Mob were a lot tighter, and you know, he had heard that I said things about him, and I heard he had this Machiavelli album coming out, and you know, that he told me what he was saying, and he basically was like, you know, me and you never supposed to go at it. Not us, it wasn't supposed to happen. It's just that things got misconstrued.
The Peers' reconciliation was so successful that on the 7th of September 1996, and just hours before he was shot, Pac was listening to Nas, It Was Written in his car, as Death Row producer and manager Kurt Cobain told The Art of Dialogue.
I remember looking over to the side, we passed up Pac and Kadada, and we rolled down the windows, and he was listening to Nas, and I knew he had a problem with Nas at the time, but so it was like, tripped me out that he was listening to Nas' album.
While the Peers' beef was squashed, unfortunately Pac's sudden and tragic death meant he didn't have time to make the amendments to his posthumous album, The Don Killuminati, The 7 Day Theory, thus the disses on Against All Odds remained. In July 2021, an unreleased Nas track, Real N***s, dissing Pac surfaced online. Reportedly recorded during the height of the Peers' beef, Nas took aim at Pac in a relatively tame fashion. From Two Socks and Timbs to Blue Rocks and Benz, who got the ends, the type of Tupac pretends, to all who shine, guess who got revenge? I won't showboat, my flow choke you. Real Niggas is the only track where Nas openly dissed Pac, and certainly didn't carry the venom of some of Nas's other diss tracks. On his 2021 album, King's Disease 2, Nas reflected on his beef with Pac on the track Death Row East. referencing the incident at the MTV Music Awards, specifically their face-off in Central Park. Both sides was thugging, but when you in my city, you know how we coming. Animals in the field, and most of them clutching. Nas also describes how the pair were set to meet up in Vegas, away from the glare of the media. Before Machiavelli the Don left, booked a flight flying out west, we was trying to squash the whole shit in Vegas. No media to eat it up and leak it in the papers. In 2002, Nas remixed Tupac's Thug's Mansion, demonstrating the level of respect for Pac that Nas had. Consistently regarded as two of the greatest rappers ever, Nas and Tupac's beef was short-lived, resulting purely from a misunderstanding, and it was ultimately overshadowed by Pac's high-profile feud with Biggie.